Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Podcasting After Dark.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
I am your goose, David Bell.
Are you Goose? Then who am I?
I don't know. You can be Maverick. I was giving you Maverick.
I guess I'm Maverick. I guess I'm your Maverick.
Damn it. I could have been Iceman.
You could have been Iceman.
That shows so much about my self-esteem right there.
Yeah.
I took Goose. And it
was both of our instinct to take Goose.
Yeah, we're both gooses,
like you already
right?
took Goose, so I didn't know what to do. Like, I really don't think I'm Maverick.
All right, well, so be it.
Yeah.
And we just watched Top Gun, Generic Enemy.
Maverick. Yeah.
Right.
That's what it's actually called.
Yeah. Movies.
30 plus years of service. Combat medals, citations. Only man to shoot down 3 enemy planes in the last 40 years. Yet you can't get a promotion, you won't retire. Despite your best efforts, you refuse to die. You should be at least a 2-star admiral by now. Yet here you are. Captain. Why is that?
It's one of life's mysteries, sir.
They're back, Dave. They've returned.
They are.
They went away for a while, but now they're back.
Yeah, they are. They are back. This really, look, this really was a movies are back moment.
Oh, hell yeah.
Tom.
Yeah.
I because of just the showtime, like the logistics of seeing this movie, I had to go to Universal City Walk to see this at the AMC there in IMAX. And it was like it was fun, but like to navigate that just to go see a movie, it's like, oh, good. Yes, I guess I'll have a mini panic attack here just to go into the theater.
Yeah, well,
because it's just like
you decided to go to a theme park to watch this movie.
I know. I'm glad I did.
You did that to yourself
because the audience was so fucking pumped.
Yeah,
like it was like, so as people know, this movie people have been waiting for this movie for so fucking long.
Yeah, it's not just the 30-odd years, or almost 30 years since the original, which was 1986, but also just like the past 2 to 3 years when it was supposed to come out.
Yeah. And so it was kind of impossible to dislike this movie in the conditions I saw it, which isn't a criticism. I'm just saying I really liked this movie. Because of course I did. I saw it in IMAX, huge theater. Everybody liked it. Everybody was having a fucking blast.
Yeah. No, I liked this movie too. I recognize that this is an extremely well done, perfectly in tone sequel to Top Gun, in that it's basically the same movie. Like it's mostly spectacle with a very thin and very basic story that still is effective and still works.
Right. It is, I would also argue, light propaganda, but that's could be said about a lot of movies from the 90s, I feel like.
Honestly, Top Gun is 80s, 86.
Right, 86.
This movie is less propaganda than the original Top Gun. I mean,
for sure.
It's still propaganda, of course, but like it's a little. This one feels a little more responsible, and that could just be by sheer virtue of what the story is. It's about a former hotshot fighter pilot turning 60 and kind of taking stock of his life, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like, boy,
Well,
what? Yeah.
I would argue that. See, this is the classic argument against like, oh, liberal Hollywood. They go where the money is, right?
Yeah.
So I think the reason this is more responsible is because it's a global film, right? It's for everybody. That it's designed, like we've joked, they never name the enemy, and that's by design.
Yeah,
because they want this to play all around the world.
They want this to play in China, and they want this to play in Russia, and they want this to play in Korea. Yeah,
right. And none of that's a hit against them. I just think it's funny that our move to movies being more global has made this a more responsible film. I think by accident. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they sought it out.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Because I was going to say this one is a lot more focused on the bond that you form and how it becomes like a found family and all of the responsibility you undertake when you're a part of that. But that was present in the original too. So
right. It's, dare I say, a more older, elegant view of it because it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
It is directed by Joseph Kosinski.
Yeah.
Kosinski? It doesn't matter.
Kosinski, K-O-S.
Yeah. Who, man, he is so good, because I would argue he did this with Tron Legacy as well. He's so good at looking at a movie and understanding completely what made the original work.
Yep.
And nailing it. I wish... They should just delete the Jurassic Worlds. Mm-hmm. Just delete them. Like if you own them on Amazon, they're just gone.
Yeah.
And start over with him, with Kosinski, because he clearly, like, all right. I want to amend it. He's not just a parrot though. He takes what's good and then he's like, let's bring it into the modern age. Let's make it even cooler. Mm-hmm. And that's what this felt like to me. It felt like an 80s movie the tone.
100%. The tone, the structure, the melodrama, because this is a tasty slice of melodrama.
But
it's effective. And the original is melodrama. So, like, if you're going to go see a Top Gun sequel, you know, it's going to be melodrama. Yeah, this is as good as it could have been, and it's quite good. So...
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's simple. Again, like a movie from the 80s or 90s would be, where it's like it's not trying to say too much. It's just following old ass Tom Cruise, and it's like, okay, where's the drama? Where can you find the drama? Son of Goose, obviously. Mm-hmm. That's such a good idea to have, like, Rooster.
Yeah.
This new hotshot pilot. That Tom Cruise has a beef with.
Did they know his dad's call sign was Goose, and that's why they gave him Rooster, or was that just a happy accident?
It's destiny, Tom.
It's destiny.
The movie is... I want to go through the plot. It's so silly. Again, it's silly by design, where we start with Tom Cruise, still a hotshot pilot, testing...
60-year-old hotshot. Like, all right.
Yeah. Gonna hit... He wakes up... He lives in a hangar. He lives in a hangar.
Yeah?
Am I wrong?
Or he just parks his plane there, but it does seem like he lives in that hangar.
It starts with him, like, watching TV, like, sitting there in, like, a living room, and he's like, all right, today's the day, and goes to his calendar with his little, like, either that or that's his office. I'm not sure which. And he's got, he's got little Rooster, pictures of Rooster. They give us everything, and he circles, like, today is the day, Mach 9. And he's going to go hit Mach 9. And Ed Harris, the stuffy general, is going to shut them down.
Harumphs his way into this movie.
Yeah. Because, they're replacing them all with drones.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, fuck, here we go. You're a dinosaur. You're going extinct, Maverick. Oh, I love it. And so they get orders not to do the test, and he does it anyway.
Yeah.
And,
listen,
and
it's
the general
to
has
save
to drive
the jobs. It's to save the jobs of his team, Dave.
Yeah, and the general has to drive there, and I was like, can't he just call and tell them not to do it? And it felt like he already did do that, in fact.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what's going on here. And he's in the parking lot, and he buzzes over him. And
I love that you call it the parking lot.
No, Ed Harris, he's parking. He's got his car. He's at the gate.
He's at the gate. Yeah, it's at a gate to an airfield in the middle of the desert. I just found it very funny you used the phrase parking lot to describe that.
Yeah, it isn't quite a parking lot. This is true. And yeah, like it's so funny that like Tom Cruise has to be the young hotshot, so they have to get even older. Right. Ed Harris,
just even older. Ed Harris. Everyone's looking mighty old in this movie.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't put John Hamm in old face.
Yeah, I mean he's almost there. He's pretty old.
Yeah, but yeah, spoilers. John Hamm is the other grumpy boss.
Yeah, he's grumpy as like fuck,
shaking his fist. And so like, yeah, Tom Cruise crashes the fucking plane. But he hit Mach 10, but he pushed it a little farther.
He doesn't crash it. It explodes. Like that's how fast he goes, Dave. That's how hard he was taking it into the danger zone.
That plane's in the upside down now.
Yeah.
It's gone
that
from our reality.
That plane traveled through time. That's how fast he was going.
Yeah. We should mention that the beginning credits is just immediate danger zone.
Yeah, it's just it's the same basically. It's just footage of planes taken off of an aircraft carrier with danger zone playing.
In IMAX, you could hear like every fucking little bit of the cables and the jets, and it was just like, oh, I'm so
like
fucking
shaking
pumped.
the seats every time the afterburners kicked on or whatever.
Right, and that's the stuff this director's so good at.
Yeah, he
looked at the original.
God.
And he's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
All of the flight sequences, the entire finale of the movie where they finally run the mission. Holy shit. It is expertly directed.
Expertly, yes.
It's so well put together. Like it's.
I feel like part of this is Tom Cruise, right? Because Tom Cruise obviously probably picked the director, right? And Kaczynski,
no probably about that. Yeah.
Kaczynski did Oblivion with Tom Cruise, which is a very good movie that he allowed Tom Cruise to do stunts in. Even though if you watch that movie, you're like, they absolutely shoehorned Tom Cruise stunts in this.
Yeah,
like he rides a motorcycle around, and it's like I don't see why he would do that in this futuristic world, but sure,
because Tom Cruise needs to ride his motorcycle. Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, there's literally like spaceships in that movie, and they're like, yeah, but he used the motorcycle. And then this, of course, Kaczynski knows, like, yeah, when he's on that motorcycle, you want to show his face, and he shows his face, just blasting to the airfield.
Yeah, man, grinning, racing a jet.
Yeah,
it's
leather jacket. The same font for the credits.
Yeah,
and it feels so fucking nostalgic, and especially for dipshits like us who grew up on this era, it's like emotional to watch this type of movie modernized, because they really did take what we love about it and they proved that, like, but you can make it a modern version.
Yeah.
But you can have the pacing, you can have the camera work, you can have the style, you can have that slow fade effect, like those slow fades between scenes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, man. I've seen it described as like a tribute to his career, to Tom Cruise's career, and I get that, because it's like, this is Tom Cruise 80s, 90s,
Yeah, 100%. And Top Gun's the movie that made him a superstar. So it's interesting that this character hasn't been like one that, it's not like a deep character, like what you think about what's Maverick's defining characteristic. You're like, well, it's right there in his name. So it's interesting to have him revisit this character with a story that, like we said, is simple, but it's still like satisfying, especially in terms of revisiting this character 30 years later, and it's still feeling like it was a worthwhile thing to do. Is it's like we're hitting him at a point in his life where he doesn't have anything but the Navy, and he's been carrying the weight of Goose's death his whole life, and then we learn that he tried to become involved in Little Goose's life, and it didn't go as well as he would have hoped. So it's a lot about like regret and like letting go of it, and letting go of all that shit.
It's sort of with a character like this, it's really easy, especially when you've just done one movie previous, to like kind of start them back up in like a low point, because they were always kind of dirtbags. Like, you know, like you could do this. I don't think they did it right, but like Han Solo, like you can see that situation.
Yeah.
Or I guess this is better compared to Indiana Jones, where it's almost the same dynamic, where he's taking the father figure role.
Yeah.
And it's a real like, check out Gramps. And then it's like, oh, he's still got a few tricks up his sleeve. You know, that kind of bullshit.
Well, but it didn't reset the progress he made in the original film.
Yes.
Like the original film is about Maverick learning to getting out from under his own father's shadow, which is, you know, there's elements of that in this movie.
Right.
With little rooster. And then also learning to trust his instincts, but also be responsible and be a member of the team, you know? And like in this, and it doesn't reset any of that, which I really appreciated. Like,
he's there to teach them that.
Yeah. And he's not like, he doesn't start out like he's like the wise version of Maverick that we got at the end of the original Top Gun. And I really, it's like we said, it's very basic, but like really satisfying when they actually just do that and don't negate the story we went through with him the first time around, you know?
Yeah, they found a very simple story to tell, a continuation of his character that made sense and did, like you said, didn't reset anything. And it was easy because his character, like everybody, is flawed.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, so his character now is basically can't get over what happened with Goose, because obviously he wouldn't. And he's sitting there looking at Goose's son, who it turns out Goose's wife, Rooster's mother, who has also died, never wanted him to, you know, be a jetman. Be a jetman.
A jetman.
Yeah, a jetman like his father.
As they're known.
Yeah. And so like he's like protecting
him. I was a jetman like my father before me.
Yeah. And Rooster resents him because he doesn't understand. And like they do also have the character who's basically the asshole, who I don't know who that actor is. Who's that actor?
Owen Phillips, I think is his name.
Okay. Beautiful job.
He's incredible.
That smirk that he has glued to his fucking face.
Yeah.
The whole movie, it's just like, oh, I hate you. We all hate you. You're perfect.
His toothpick game, too.
Oh, God. Yes. What an asshole.
He's massacring that toothpick. What a king. Yeah. What a king of shitheads.
Yeah. And that's when you realize like what they're doing, which it's in the trailers, but it never fully dawned upon me. So basically Maverick gets called to like teach this group of Top Gun pilots, graduates, to do this like super generic and risky mission. It's riskier than anything they've ever done, and they do a very good job at explaining what they have to do, which is like go 100 feet above the ground through this valley, to then go up this fucking mountain, to then dive into the mountain, which looks like a fucking volcano, and then bomb this little fucking piece of shit bunker. Twice. One of them has to like bomb it to open it up, and the other one has to bomb it to blow up the uranium or whatever.
Then they refinery.
Yeah, and they have to pull like 10 G's getting back up. So it's like, imagine going in a big cone, and then by the time they go up, they're almost passed out, and they're gonna get attacked. And so they're like, we need the best damn pilot to teach these kids. And the moment he goes back and he goes to that bar, and all the hot Top Gun graduates come in, and it's just like, oh, there's the nerdy one, there's like the asshole, there's like the cool one, and it's just like, oh fuck, here we go. Like, and they do again, they're all so two-dimensional in a wonderful way,
but it's gloriously perfect. I'm sorry, that actor's name is Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell.
Owen Phillips is somebody else that I don't know how I mixed that up. Anyway.
I don't know. He has a rich career ahead of him playing assholes.
Playing shitheads.
Yeah.
He kills it.
He kills it.
He's so good.
Yeah. And again, it's so beautifully 90s where they all are just, you know, they're just like, I'm toothpick guy. That's my guy. Oh, I'm glasses guy. Like, and it's just like, okay, got it. I know who all of you are now.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all the original was.
Yeah. But they're enough like where it's like, I can comfortably join these characters on their dumb adventure
on their ridiculous Star Wars Kessel Run.
Yeah.
Not Kessel Run, the fucking, the Death Star Trench.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just misspeaking all over the place today.
It's all right.
But there's something so
rattled by Top Gun.
I know. It's so beautifully simple in its storytelling, but it's still, I don't know, it's just good.
Again,
it's good. I don't know what else to say. It's effective. It's just it's
Did he also write it
to watch?
Kaczynski?
He doesn't have a writing credit, but
Okay, because I couldn't help but notice this is very similar Tron Legacy vibes, where it's father-son issues.
Yeah, I think that's part of that. I think is just like if you're making a Legacy sequel, that's just like one of like the first 3 story ideas you'd come up with, right?
Yeah, it's a really good place to do it.
Yeah.
Where they do mentor issues, where it's like, here's our hero from the original. It's fucking 30 whatever years later. Well, guess what?
And that's
now he has to deal with these young hotshots.
That's what happens to heroes. 30 years later, they get old, so they have to transition into a mentor role.
Right. But they still got it.
Yeah.
They have so much fun with that, where it's like, Tom Cruise is dicking it to Jennifer Connelly. After they go boating.
But it's interesting to see this courtship compared with the one in the original. Right. Which is like, it's just very noteworthy to me that they did keep Maverick the changed person that he was at the end of the first movie, because he's so different in all of his interactions with Jennifer Connelly. Like, he defers to her like in every situation. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, he follows her. He follows her lead. Yeah.
Yeah. She takes him boating. She's pursuing him basically.
Yeah.
And then they do the thing where he has to sneak out because her daughter comes home. And so they do a fun little like that idea of like, it's normally the teens with the parents. And so he has to sneak out because the daughter's there. So they give him they're basically, they're doing that perfect, like, they still got juice in them. They're not dead yet, That's that stuff. But they flipped it into this position where it's like, but they're also like adults.
And there's a really good beat at the end of that scene that sort of perfectly encompasses Maverick's character and kind of who he is in this movie. Is, they have a fun scene with him and Jennifer Connelly, and her daughter comes home early. She was supposed to come home the next day, so he's got to sneak out through the window, and they drop down, and as he's just about to drop down undetected, he gets spotted by her, and they have this, it's a joke beat, but then the daughter is not amused. She's not happy to see him, and she says, "Don't break her heart again." And it really
It resonates.
It resonates with him, and that's kind of like the whole idea with his character is, in the original, Maverick is a hotshot guy who's not thinking, which is useful and is like is a repeated mantra in this movie for when you're being a fighter pilot. They have that mantra of don't overthink it, just act when you're in that plane.
Right, which they still do that.
They still do it, yeah. But he's because he's got the older person's understanding of that, which is like, well, you then have to be burdened by the consequence of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's very funny. Yeah. Because he says to her before he drops down, like, "I'm not leaving this time."
Yeah.
Which is it's funny because she's in the perfect place in life. Yeah. But otherwise he's 60. He's like, "I'm ready to settle down." And it's like, that's great, man. Like,
cool.
It's like 30 years too late, but that's great. There's a dark version of this.
Yeah.
But she's into it.
Yeah.
I really like how they actually handle jump to the end where he gets back and he expects her to be waiting for him.
And she's not. Yeah, she's living her life.
And she's not. Yeah. And so he waits for her.
Yeah.
And that's great. I loved that because they don't call too much attention to it, but it is kind of,
it's a reversal.
Yeah, it's him learning to, like, she's not doing it to like be mean or anything. No. She just went boating.
She went boating. She took her teenage daughter on a sailing trip.
Yeah.
So instead we flash forward a little bit to him in his hangar working on his plane with Baby Goose, and then Jennifer Connelly pulls up and gets to do what is normally the Tom Cruise pose, where she's like leaning against this fabulous sports car that she drove to his hangar office / bedroom to meet him.
Yeah,
it was just
fever dream apartment house.
It's all of it like hangs together to give you like I've just really appreciated them sort of having this character have grown to the point where he's like, the whole point of it is understanding he's not the hero anymore. He has to. It's time for me to, It's a trend, which is like it's course correcting the male ego. Yeah, exactly.
I would say.
Yeah,
it's what they did in Bond, and again, they did it very subtly. You haven't seen the new Bond, but I think I described it before. He has a scene where he has to meet an operative, and it's what's her name, Ana de Armas. Yeah, and she's looking smoking hot. And she looks full on Bond girl, and it never crosses anybody's mind that they sleep together. They do the mission and they shake hands like professionals, and it's just very subtly done where it's like, yeah, he's way too old for her. like they never say it, but it's Bond. He acts in that way where he acts like a mentor to her and doesn't creep on her. And then like they both go their separate ways. And it was just like, oh, cool, like little things like that where they're not like shoving it in your face and not calling attention to it. They're just course correcting. It's little dynamics.
It's growth. I mean,
yeah.
It's like the whole point of the movie is Tom Cruise has learned, or Maverick has learned, like you said, like to sort of put aside his ego. It's like it's time that those days are done. Like
right, and in this again, it's not really an arc for him in this.
Because he already learned it. But like it's interesting that they stuck with it and expounded upon it with what happens in this movie.
Yeah, the arc in this is basically having to let this person be his own, do what they're gonna do,
be his own man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like because he pulled Rooster's name from the academy or something.
He blocked him from going through Naval Academy, which like set
he set him back.
He set his career back 4 years, they tell us. So it's basically him trying to act as Goose's proxy, as little Goose's surrogate dad. And make a unilateral decision for him, thinking he's protecting him, but then it's like, you gotta just let he's a grown man. You gotta just let him do what he wants to do.
Right, and they do a really good job where they never actually talk to each other about it.
No,
they just sort of slowly. So like, so silly. So he's instructing them. Mm-hmm. None of them can do it. They're doing like a virtual run where they're like a simulation would be the word for it.
Yeah.
Where they're out in their little planes and they're
tiny little planes.
They're little planes, and it's all state of the art.
Yeah.
They also make a note to say the enemy base, the generic enemy, has some old fighter jets there. That's interesting. I don't know if that'll come up later, but they do. But they're using like the latest jets, and they're trying to do the trench run, and no one can do it, and so The low point happens. We haven't even mentioned the fact that Val Kilmer's there.
Yeah.
And so basically there's the emotional stuff. There's like, I feel like there's like 4 low points that I felt like, oh, is this the third act? Nope. Okay. Is this the third act? Like, and again, didn't matter. It was fine.
I don't know. It worked on me.
It worked.
You get to the end of the film, you really felt like you went through something with Maverick.
Oh yeah, and I love movies that do that.
Yeah.
If I'm liking the movie, a movie that's just like, oh, you thought that was the end? No, there's more. So I think the first low point is like the emotional hem and Rooster. Kind of a Rooster in smirky face, Hangman, because he always leaves you hanging. Hangman has an arc, which is he has to not be an asshole who abandons people.
Yeah.
That's his arc.
That's his arc. Yep.
Which is funny.
He has to learn to be a member of the team, Dave.
Yeah, he has Tom Cruise's arc.
Basically.
It's just funny, like, when he doesn't select Hangman, I like that he doesn't even have to explain why, because it's like, yeah, because you're a dickhead who abandons people.
Right.
Like, your bit is that you abandon people?
He got
like,
his...
that's not going to get you very far.
Yeah, and he got it. The one exercise run we watch him do, he gets his wingman killed because he's going too fast. And like when Tom Cruise is yelling at him about it later, he like refuses to see that he did anything wrong. And then it's like, well, of course he did. I mean, he's clearly like the quote unquote better pilot than Rooster, but it's like, well, obviously he didn't pick you because you got your teammates killed.
Right. Like, his flying technique is me when I play as Chad Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's to run and abandon everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play my own game. You fuckers chill out.
Right.
Whatever you're gonna do, do it.
It was so silly that at any point that guy thought he'd be team leader, because it's like, no, your bit is to abandon people.
Your call sign refers to the fact that you fucking screw off and leave your teammates hanging.
Yeah. So his arc is learning the very basic skill of not leaving people to die.
He learns some humility.
Yeah. And so there's like him and Rooster, Baby Goose, and Hangman have a fight, and this is after Tom Cruise was told by Val Kilmer, like they have a scene where basically Val Kilmer he's Val Kilmer. He can't speak. So he's typing, and they just work it into the character, which I thought was a very good idea.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah,
honestly.
because I don't know about you, I was on the edge of my seat because they're like texting each other, and then he says, "I need to see you." And Joseph Kosinski, as much as I like him, bad record for digital versions.
Digital ghouls of people? Yeah.
So I was like, oh, be cool, man. Just be cool. Like, I don't want to see a CGI abomination here.
I don't want to see CGI Val Kilmer. No, they wouldn't have done that. That maybe should have crossed my mind now that you're pointing out that he infamously did it in Tron Legacy, but...
Right, it's a cynical thought.
Yeah. But it's a very different situation. Yeah, so I was fully expecting normal Val Kilmer, real life Val Kilmer, I should say, and it was real life Val Kilmer.
Yeah. And he does good. He only has one scene, and then he promptly dies. They kill off the character off screen, which I don't know. Like, it must be weird to be Val Kilmer and to be playing like someone with the same conditions of you,
and then your character dies of that condition.
Yes, and like you're described as being on death's door in the film.
Yeah,
that's got to be a fucking trippy thing to do. But and so that's like first low point, and that's when John Hamm is like, "You're off the team." Like you gotta go tend to your dead friend, and we gotta push up the mission, and you haven't trained these kids yet. And so Tom Cruise steals an aircraft.
He sure does.
Yep, and he does the simulation. He is the only person to do it correctly. And then John Hamm's like, damn it, you stole an aircraft, and he apparently broke it, because he says like it'll never fly again. And he's like, you're team leader now, and it's like, okay, that would never happen, but I'm glad it has.
It's Top Gun, Dave.
Yeah. I love it. That's the shit I love.
Like every 10 seconds in either Top Gun film, you could say, well, that would never happen.
But that's the shit that's like, I'm so glad they did that.
Yeah.
It's so silly. And I love it.
Yeah.
That there's so many people where it's just like, damn you, Maverick.
He's just too good.
You're the best. Yeah. And so, they fuck off to unspecified country.
To the character's credit, Maverick does not expect to be made team leader. He's doing this to show his team that the run can be done.
Right, because at this point they were going to change the run to just make it easier, but with higher risk.
That they would almost certainly die. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's team leader now. He picks Little Rooster as his wingman, because of course he does.
Of course he does.
They go on the mission. It is fucking awesome.
It's so
that
goddamn
entire sequence.
Cool. My God. It's so good.
Yeah. I know they shot in real planes.
Yeah.
I assume it's a combination.
Yeah.
Because there's certain parts where it's like, oh, even if you had a real plane, you can like fly like that.
No.
So
Yeah.
like, I think they had like, a green screen setup and a actual plane setup, which it must have been. How do you act that? Like, how do you, when you're like, obviously when they're in the real plane, they don't have to act.
Yeah.
And then they have to be on a green screen and have to act the same. Like that's gotta be difficult.
I don't know. I imagine if the cockpit's like a close enough facsimile, I imagine it's probably not that difficult. You just put yourself right back into that headspace. Like, oh, right, this is what I was feeling like when I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
I'm the wrong person to ask, Dave.
You put an actor in a fucking jet like that and give them any amount of G's. I'm sure it's like they're not even aware of what they're doing some of the time, right? Like even Tom Cruise in some of those shots, it was like, oh, he looks a little nervous.
I do like that in this one. They never do in the original film. I do like in this one. There's not once but twice. Tom Cruise gives a very detailed explanation of what G-force is, and I think that's a good idea to explain to the audience what it is.
Yeah, they're like your skull crushes your spine. And it's like an elephant's on your chest and. Yeah, all that shit.
They want you to understand what it is that these, and it works, man. I could not get that out of my head watching the finale, the mission. That's all I could think about was, oh my god, your brain's getting crushed by an invisible elephant. It was.
Because they also have a sequence where someone almost dies in a test
he blacks out.
Flight.
Yeah, he blacks out.
Because he blacks out. So they were like, we want to make the G-forces a villain. Like we want people to be very clear of how fucking dangerous this is.
Yeah.
And I feel like they do it really well by breaking it all down, where they do the test runs where they're like, you did this, you're dead. Oh, you did this, you're dead. Oh God, you did this, you're dead. And then it's actually so dangerous that someone almost literally dies. So they do such a good job. Just like
it occurs to me, this is almost the structure of a heist movie, right? Is the original
right?
The original was just they're in school, and then in the third act, all of a sudden there's a mission, and these students are the only ones who can do it. This one, they're planning for this mission from the get-go. They know they're going to go on this mission, and like at the entire middle chunk, like Act 2, basically, is them training for the heist.
It's so smart.
Yeah,
that's so smart. Yeah, because it makes it so that the mission itself matters because you know exactly what they have to do.
Yep.
And the mission is simple, or at least it's simple to explain.
Yeah, it's pretty straight. It's straightforward in a way.
Yeah.
In a way it is. Narratively speaking, it's straightforward.
Narratively speaking, yeah. They basically set up about 3 obstacles, which is go down this canyon. You got to go up and down this ridiculous mountain, pulling ridiculous amounts of G's, and you have to hit this target dead on. And then after that, hopefully, no one will notice you and you can get home.
Yeah, they don't.
And guess what?
They do.
Yep.
The bad planes get in there.
Yeah, so Rooster has his arc, which is like he overthinks things. And so he keeps being told, don't think, do. And what that amounts to is Tom Cruise, who basically he does an amazing move, which is Rooster's getting shot at. He doesn't have any flares, so Tom Cruise like goes between and releases his flares. He gets shot down, and they're told like, nope, you got to leave him behind. And Rooster doesn't think. He just does. So he saves Tom Cruise, gets shot down himself. And so there's little baby Goose and Tom Cruise behind enemy lines having to figure out how to get out. That's when I realized like, oh my God, there's so much more movie.
More movie now. Yeah.
Yeah. Bonus movie.
And so they get into one of those old F-14s that they just happened to point. They pointed out earlier that the enemy has a bunch of these.
That was one of those moments where I felt so stupid where I was like, of course that's why they said that.
Of course the ending was going to be Maverick and Goose's son in an F-14.
Yeah.
Like, of course
it was fuck, man.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what it is.
And it's like, again, it's also simple, but like getting that moment, like...
It was simple in a way that was satisfying. It didn't feel cynical.
Yeah, where they're just like, the enemy has some. And it was like, okay.
Sure. I mean, honestly...
I don't know why, but that's fine.
I mean, honestly, that's not that... I was like, okay, because, like,
No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, old military hardware gets bought and sold all the time.
Right. And so it made as much sense as it needed to.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, how do we get out of here? And it's like, oh, guess what? There's one plane. And so they Top Gun out of there. And you think the movie's over? It's not over.
Yep.
No.
They got a dogfight, Dave. They got a dogfight.
A fucking really good dogfight.
It's so good.
It's so fucking good.
God.
And it's so dramatic.
Something else that has to be said. At the very beginning, during the test flight, when Tom Cruise does his test flight and drives the plane too hard and it blows up, they make it clear to you that he is not safe. Like, I can't quite nail down exactly how they convey that. It's a combination of things, but like, he gets up there, he says like, talk to me, Goose, like he's talking to Goose. So it's clear that like when he's flying, it's like his communion with Goose. He pushes the plane too hard. There's just like a lot of
it's the sound.
Yeah.
It's showing like that the plane around him is kind of falling apart a little.
Yeah.
They do a very good job with, and they do this later where like where the people almost, they have to eject and all that shit happens. Where they're screaming like we're on fire.
Yeah.
And they're showing like the lights and the sounds are like, like it all is very dramatic. And it doesn't need to be dramatized more. It's like by design.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that with that scene in the very beginning, they sort of let you know that none of the characters have plot armor. So like during this final scene, this whole final mission, it's not a given that anyone is safe, not even Tom Cruise.
Oh. Yeah, like, that was the thing, is I fully expected, or rather I was prepared for the ending with Tom Cruise to risk or sacrifice his life
100%.
to save Baby Goose. I just assumed that was going to happen because I was like, so when he gets shot down, I knew that wasn't the end of him because it was too unceremonious, but it was like, like they kept hinting at that idea.
Yeah.
But then when they have the final dogfight, there's a point where they're just flying straight in the air.
Yeah.
And the other person, there's nowhere to run. He's got him right in his little plane sights. And that was a moment of like, okay, so the best that could happen is Baby Goose ejects.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise takes the hit.
But what happens instead, Dave?
They did a really good job with this because they set him up in a way that you really don't expect. Like, I knew obviously they're going to make it out of this, but I was like, how's this going to happen? And fucking Smirky Toothpick
Hangman
blows him out of
learns
the
the
sky.
power of friendship and saves the fucking day.
Right, which is a very key element to this movie is teamwork. That's the point.
And that was he's Iceman. Like that was an element in the first movie too.
Right. A lesser film would have been like, no, Tom Cruise has to save the day. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's almost a twist, because you're sitting there, and if you're following a fairly conventional movie and if you're not thinking about it that hard, you're like, wait, how is he going to get out of this moment? Because like, it has to be him. Just the rules of movies. So it's like you don't really expect in the moment, or rather I didn't, that's like, oh, of course it'd be a teammate. Because that's again,
the whole
like
point,
weirdly, it's weirdly anticlimactic, but it's the fucking point of the movie.
Yeah.
And so it's everybody gets together to murder these, I don't know, Swedes?
Sure. Let's go with
Sweden.
Swedes. Yeah. It's probably Sweden.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Gonna blow up Sweden's nuclear refinery.
God,
uranium refinery, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's my new headcanon. And then they land, and it's a fucking movie. It's a movie.
It's a movie. It's a whole ass movie.
Yeah, it's an absolute delight. I can't stress enough. This is Tom Cruise apparently like worked really hard to make sure this never went to streaming, and I'm glad.
Yeah, this movie kind of needs to be seen on a big screen.
It really does.
Or it doesn't need to be seen. You can, you see movies however you end up seeing them, but it really benefits from being on this big screen, and you really, it's a cool experience if you're able to have it.
Yeah, if people still don't feel perfectly safe.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just a movie.
It's just a movie.
So,
yeah.
So don't risk anything.
Yeah.
But as I get why this is a movie that they were like, no, this is a theater movie. Because I had a feeling Kaczynski, like, again, having seen his other films and really liked him, he was such a visual director. And he like, it was like, yeah, this was clearly designed to be seen on the biggest screen imaginable.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, really good. I don't know.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's it's a solid, very well done popcorn blockbuster.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I'm watching this and I'm thinking I hate to make this negative, but it's like, I want this more than Marvel now. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
yeah,
this is what we need.
Because it's again, I don't know.
It's different. Yes, it can't be compared to that. It's just that like I'm so, like the stakes feel so much higher when it's just people.
When it's just a personal thing, yeah.
Yeah, and when it's not superhuman people and they're just in fucking planes and it's shot in this way where it's like we did it as real as we could. Like there's plane scenes where it's like, yep, that's real. And the scenes that aren't real, they're more or less like you can tell like they don't look much different.
And it adds.
It's not.
It really adds to it, the practicality of it. Like you feel like at least a portion of what they're feeling in those jets, man. And it's like it adds like an inherent tension to every flight scene where you're just like, Christ, man, you guys are ripping through the sky in these things right now.
Yeah, because this is definitely not true throughout. Because I can remember shots that are from
of course,
imaginary spots,
of course,
but they still do that thing where they're like panning with the planes and they're showing how fucking fast they're going with the landscape behind them.
It's part of his skill as a director, is he knows to keep it from the pilot's perspective as much as possible. Yeah,
the camera is mostly mounted on they make it feel as real as possible in the sense that the camera shots, at least for the ending, it's mostly the camera is places. Again, I'll have to rewatch it to be sure because I was just too wrapped up in it. But it feels like very grounded in the way they shot it. And it's nice to see something so big and epic that takes place in our reality. And I think that's what it is that like we haven't had that in a while. We haven't had movies that it's like, this is just our world and here's a very big story. That takes place there. It's
not like a bid to start a new franchise. Like it doesn't. It feels pretty final when it ends. It's, I don't know. It's just,
no one's waiting around for end credits. It's just
this really did. Just real quick, just to sort of co-sign what you had said.
Yeah,
I didn't want to make it, not to be negative, but this did make me really miss when there was at least a little more variety in blockbusters.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not. Marvel will go down in history for what it's contributed to cinema,
of course.
But we're oversaturated, plain and simple.
Yeah,
and I still enjoy a lot of them. I mean, we liked Multiverse of Madness for all it was.
They're mostly good. It's just it's fatigue.
But they're it's sci-fi, it's very loose sci-fi fantasy, and it's like that's fine. But they've been dominating theaters. They've been dominating this type of blockbuster energy for so long that it's just so nice to see this crowded theater of people having a fucking blast watching this movie.
Yeah.
And part of it, I think, is pandemic related.
I'm sure.
Because I think what happened is Marvel kind of kept going more than anybody else during the pandemic. Because they kind of, I never felt like we got... they did the TV stuff, I never felt like we got a break. Well, every other production felt like it had to be halted. So I think we're just going to get back to a little bit more of this.
Yeah.
And so it was just really nice. A really nice experience.
Yeah, man.
Movies are back, Tom.
The movies have returned, Dave.
Yeah.
Like an F-14 out of the past.
Yeah. This ridiculous fucking movie.
Man, I loved it, Dave. It was...
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous melodrama.
Yeah, it's so well done. And it's dedicated at the end to Tony Scott.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Again, going back to the director, he shot it like Tony Scott would, like, and still added his own flavor to it. And I don't know, man. I can't fucking wait to see. Well, I know what he's doing next because this was delayed so long.
Right.
His next film is.
It's the Spider Island or
Spider Balls or whatever. Yeah.
The Hemsworth one that's coming to Netflix.
Yeah. I'm excited to see ones like that where he doesn't have to mimic somewhat, build on a franchise.
And it's not such a spectacle.
Right. Yes.
But he does spectacles so well. Yeah.
Yeah. He builds on franchises so well. So, everybody go check out Tron Legacy.
Yeah. Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else, Dave.
No, neither do I. I feel like I had. Nah, it doesn't matter. None of this matters.
It's fine. It's fine.
Thanks for listening, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let me stop and tell you about our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, there's some exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We do some podcasts with the Small Beans, Spiel Boys, and Star Trek The Next Futurama. Those are all available for $5 a month. Just $5. For $10 a month, you can watch movies with us every Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
We got to finish our prequel, Star Wars prequel rewatch, Tom.
We will.
Yeah, we will. And we do our own custom. We just watched. There's a bunch of stuff on there, so check it out.
So slap your peepers on that. We also have a store. Head over to GameFullyUnemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store, where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So give that a gander.
Yeah.
You goose.
And go see.
Get it, Dave? Oh, shit.
You goose. Oh, no.
Take a gander, you goose. I'm so fucking good, Dave. I am Maverick. I've come around. We've come full circle.
You hot shot.
I know, right? Man, somebody ought to ground me permanently.